Anyone who is involved in a research project will be asked about how they're going to disseminate the outcomes of the research. And I think you have to look at this as being something which involves a whole series of different audiences. I mean, you can look at this as just part of your everyday practice. When you go into the classroom and you have a particularly good teaching session, you're going to want to reflect on what happened, what worked well, what didn't work well. And in that case, I guess the dissemination is really just back to yourself. You know, you want to keep a record of what you've done so that next time you teach that, you're going to do it differently, or perhaps repeat the bits that worked well. But there's other potential audiences for the sorts of lessons that you learn by doing these types of inquiries. So if you're in a large class and you've got a whole series of tutors or people that you work with, it might be worth disseminating what you've learnt from your teaching to other people in your teaching team. And you have to be able to frame those arguments in a way that they're going to be convinced to change their practice. So you need to think about not only that you've done something well, but the sort of argument that you're going to be able to present to them to say they should perhaps do the things differently. But that sort of goes all the way up, sort of like a triangle where you have course teams that might need to have some input from you about things that could change or learn from the lessons that you've learned. Within institutions, you might be asked about what should be done differently so far as your particular areas of teaching. Or even cross institutions, you might be asked from time to time about how they could do things differently. In each of these cases, they're going to want to have some sort of evidence that the sorts of claims that you're making for better practice is actually based on a good, sound, systematic investigation. And this is where I think those educational arguments are so critical, because if you don't have a way of convincing other people, then you're really not able to disseminate your ideas in a way that's going to get changes to particular practices.